He soon realized it was not the authorities, but rather a rival group of agricultural enthusiasts equipped with a loud noisemaker designed to frighten away hungry wildlife. The realization did little to calm his companions. Corey and Jacob stumbled backward in a comical display of uncoordinated retreat, tripping over exposed roots and tangled vines. Ricky shouted for them to stand their ground, but fear had already taken hold. He watched in utter dismay as the rival group swiftly moved in and began gathering the precious plants he had spent all summer cultivating. A wave of familiar frustration washed over him. He threw his hands up in the air, asking the universe why his moments of triumph were always snatched away at the very last second. He sighed heavily, a mixture of disappointment and resignation settling over him as he began the long walk back home. Meanwhile, in a different part of the valley, a much more successful enterprise was flourishing. Bubbles was experiencing a golden age of entrepreneurship. He stood proudly in his meticulously organized workspace, surrounded by gleaming stainless steel vats and neatly stacked rows of amber glass bottles. He greeted his visitors with a radiant smile, eager to showcase his latest endeavor. He explained how he had cleverly negotiated the sale of a highly sought-after culinary recipe to a visiting chef who possessed a rather unique and charming accent. Bubbles had wisely taken the proceeds from that transaction and reinvested every single penny into building his very own artisanal beverage company. He gestured toward his brewing apparatus, detailing how the business had started slowly but was now generating a very respectable and consistent income. He picked up a freshly labeled bottle, proudly displaying the vibrant logo of his signature creation, the Green Bastard India Pale Ale. The beverage had become incredibly popular among the local residents, and the demand was continuously rising. Business was truly booming, but the sweet taste of success came with its own set of pressures. Bubbles wiped a bead of sweat from his forehead, explaining that he was currently facing a strict deadline. Ricky had recently announced his intention to host a massive, highly anticipated gathering and had placed an enormous order for 22 large cases of the artisanal beverage. Bubbles knew that such a substantial order indicated that Ricky had some incredibly important news to share with the community. The prospect of the grand announcement filled Bubbles with an infectious excitement, motivating him to work even harder to ensure every bottle was perfectly crafted. Julian walked into the workspace, his eyes scanning the impressive setup with a mixture of admiration and calculating interest. He greeted Bubbles warmly, inquiring about the health of the new business. Bubbles beamed with pride, confirming that the enterprise was performing exceptionally well. He expressed his immense relief at having transitioned away from his previous, far more labor-intensive and unpredictable methods of earning a living. Julian nodded approvingly, stating that it was wonderful to see the community supporting a local artisan. He leaned against a wooden table, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. He suggested that they collaborate on a new product line. He proposed creating a robust, protein-infused beverage named after his own muscular physique, believing it would be a tremendous marketing success. Bubbles chuckled at the suggestion, acknowledging the humor in the idea but gently deflecting the business proposal. Julian pressed further, inquiring about the specific financial details of the operation. He asked Bubbles about his weekly sales volume and his overall profit margins. Bubbles immediately sensed a shift in the conversation. He knew Julian exceptionally well and could easily decipher his intentions. Julian was currently experiencing a period of severe financial hardship, and Bubbles suspected that his friend was looking for an opportunity to insert himself into a profitable venture. He playfully reprimanded Julian, asking him not to attempt a hostile corporate takeover. Bubbles confidently stated that he had been studying various business programs on television and was fully familiar with the complex terminology Julian was attempting to use. Julian sighed heavily, the confident facade crumbling to reveal a deep sense of vulnerability. He confessed to Bubbles that he was entirely out of funds. He expressed his immense frustration at his current situation, explaining how incredibly difficult it was to transition into a completely legitimate lifestyle when starting with absolutely nothing. He shared a deeply embarrassing anecdote from the previous evening. He had invited a romantic interest over for a cinematic viewing experience, but his financial situation was so dire that he was unable to provide even a simple roasted corn snack, forcing his guest to purchase the refreshments herself. Bubbles listened with genuine sympathy. He gently reminded Julian that extravagant spending was not the foundation of a meaningful connection, but he understood the blow to his friend's pride. Without a moment's hesitation, Bubbles reached into his pocket and offered Julian a portion of his own hard-earned profits. Julian initially resisted the generous gesture, his pride bristling at the thought of accepting charity. Bubbles insisted, emphasizing that friends must support one another during difficult times. He handed over the funds, urging Julian to accept the help and appreciate the bond that kept them together. The peaceful atmosphere of the afternoon was abruptly shattered by a commotion outside. Ricky stumbled into the clearing, accompanied by Corey and Jacob. Ricky was sporting a highly visible, albeit minor, scratch on his arm and seemed to be in a state of agitated distress. He loudly complained about a neighborhood feline that had caused the scratch, a story that nobody present actually believed. Bubbles immediately rushed forward, his eyes wide with concern as he inspected the superficial wound. He asked Ricky how such an incident had occurred. Ricky took a deep breath and launched into a highly detailed and wildly improbable explanation. He claimed that he, along with Corey and Jacob, had been engaging in an exhilarating new athletic pursuit known as rollerblade skiing. He described the thrill of gliding smoothly over the pavement until they unexpectedly encountered a treacherous patch of loose gravel. According to Ricky's vivid account, the gravel caused a catastrophic loss of balance, resulting in a spectacular and uncoordinated tumble for all three of them. He pointed to Jacob, noting that the young man had suffered the most significant impact during the chaotic fall. Ricky shook his head, passionately arguing that local municipalities should be strictly prohibited from utilizing gravel, as it posed a severe danger to dedicated rollerblade skiers everywhere. Julian folded his arms across his chest, his expression one of profound skepticism. He questioned the logistical feasibility of their athletic endeavor, pointing out that acquiring the specialized footwear would have required a financial investment that none of them currently possessed. He gently suggested that Ricky might have obtained the equipment through less than honorable means. Ricky vehemently denied the accusation, claiming they had procured the items from a newly opened, highly reputable retail establishment. The explanation was convoluted and completely unconvincing. The tension in the air thickened as a family member stepped forward, pointing out that the small, metallic objects embedded in Jacob's clothing were not pieces of gravel at all, but rather the remnants of a startled encounter with a defensive mechanism often used by protective farmers. The family demanded the absolute truth. The facade finally crumbled. Ricky lowered his head, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. He gathered his loved ones close and offered a sincere and deeply emotional apology. He confessed that he had been harboring a significant secret throughout the entire summer. He had not been dedicating his time to upgrading his certification in small engine repair, nor had he enrolled in the heavy machinery operation course he had previously promised to attend. Instead, he admitted, he had been independently cultivating a massive garden of rare and highly valuable botanical specimens in a secluded area near the bluff. He described the project with a sense of lingering pride, detailing the complex irrigation system he had constructed and the sheer size and beauty of the fully grown plants. He explained that his primary motivation had been to secure a single, life-altering financial victory that would allow him to permanently retire and provide a life of comfort for his entire family. However, his voice trembled slightly as he recounted the events of the previous night. He took full responsibility for bringing Corey and Jacob into the forest, acknowledging that it was a foolish and reckless decision. He explained how the carefully laid plan had descended into chaos when rival agricultural enthusiasts startled them and absconded with the entire harvest. The family listened in stunned silence. The disappointment radiating from them was palpable. They were not upset about the loss of the plants, but rather about the broken promises and the unnecessary risks he had taken with his friends' well-being. They questioned how he could